So when I worked at TechCom, the owners decided to make the closing time instead of 6:30, which I always thought 6:30 was an odd number because after 6 o'clock, nobody would show up. But they wanted to push it to 8 o'clock. I think it was on Wednesdays or something like that. So it was pretty dead from 6 to 6:30. So from 6:30 to 8, it was really dead. Nobody was coming in. So I was sitting at my desk on the showroom floor, and a guy walks in. He had a hoodie on, and he didn't. I didn't know him, and he was asking me about gear. I said, what do you need to know? And he said, well, how do you put a studio get together? What? And so I'm thinking I have nothing to do, so I showed him. Here's a console, and then here's a 2-inch 24 track, and here's the MIDI gear, and I went down the whole line of everything he would need to put a studio together, speakers, everything. And he says, okay, can write that down? And I said, sure. Wrote it all down. And he says, all right, I'll be back. And it was like, came out to over $100,000 for everything. And he took off. And about a half an hour later, he comes back with a grocery bag full of cash. And he hands it to me. He says, will this be enough? And I go, I don't know. So I took it to the accounting and I just handed it to them. And they were like, oh my God. And the two girls back there, Betty, I forgot the other lady's name. They're counting it all up. And I said, well, if there's enough there, yeah, well, we can do it. And he said, well, I'd like to buy all that stuff. So there was enough and more, and we had to give him some money back. And I wrote up the sale, and he says, okay. And I had it delivered to his apartment, and we took everything in, we set it up. I showed him how it worked. But the weird thing is, there was guns all over the place laying around and a lot of people there. And but everybody seemed to get along with me, and nothing bad happened. But I put all the things together, and heard from him a few times, and really never heard from him again. But it was a very odd thing. So sometimes, judging a book by its cover, it didn't look like he was ready to buy anything, but he bought all that gear, and all it did was took me an hour or so of my time to explain how it all worked. And when we're done, got it up, running, and I never knew what happened to him. But that was an interesting thing.